What does a drone have in common with a meter stick? I don't know if I want to wait for an answer for that, but I can surely give you one. But before I do, you're going to have to find it out and watch this. So you're going to learn today from what I talk about is what these have in common with where I'm standing today. So my research is environmental physiology, which I think of as like being a medical doctor, but I'm a medical doctor for forests. And that means I look at the health of a forest, particularly things that make it sick, like maybe climate change. I can look at pollution and all sorts of stuff. And if trees get sick, I find out, or forests get sick, that means wildlife gets sick. So I look at this ecosystem around me as being almost like a person, and every little part of it needs to be monitored and measured. Okay, and why do I do that? To gather information. My interest is how does climate change, how does pollution impact the forest, because forests have services to us. We call ecosystem services. And you might not see those services when we think about, what happens with the rain is that forests trap rain, reduce flooding. They provide us with some oxygen. They literally do clean the air. They regulate temperature, believe it or not, and do all sorts of things we might not pay attention to until they're gone. And we've seen what happens when they disappear sometimes. So I'm interested in their health. And there are various tools that we use to do this. Many tools that you've heard about and familiar with and never thought would even be used as research tools today. So when I think about the health of a forest, before I even start, I have to think about what am I looking at? What type of tree? What's the structure of this tree? Just like if I'm looking at a person, I have to say, what makes up this person? What are their organs look like? How does their body function? Are they wounded? Do they have an injury? I have to do the same with trees and sometimes with wildlife. This actually I look at and I can count the amount of leaves on a tree. It's called leaf, it's a leaf canopy device. Very difficult to do. And I'll turn it around a little so you can see it. That's the eye hole. It has levels so you know that. So you can make sure you get a straight measure and stuff. So these are some of the older tools that we use. If you're looking at slope and the effects of slope on things, we have clinometers, which students can make using just basically a string and a weight. This is not digital. I do have digital ones now that my students, we can measure the whole slope of this area in increments of about 6 inches using lasers. So this is what we did in the old days. So this is what's neat about today. I can do this with lasers, and I can even set these up and they run themselves. The slope's not going to change too much. And this game camera, this is a day and a night version, and I can run this for days. I have one that is expensive, and it can actually communicate through my cell phone, through a cell signal, and I can sit here while I'm monitoring land in Huntsville, and I can watch what the rain does to a slope of an area. That affects forests too. It affects soil distribution and how nutrients are spread in soil. So farmers pay attention to rainflow too a lot of times. And these cameras are pretty simple to use. They do still shots of videos. You have settings, a memory card. Some units have a satellite phone attached to them. You can see these. Very simple tools. And what's nice is you can have them continuously run or activated by a certain period of time or by movement. And sometimes I'll use these to look at wildlife predation in trees, which normally you do by sleeping in the woods and sometimes in the canopy. Trees get their nutrients from soil like people get their nutrients from food. So I'd have to take soil samples using what's called a soil borer. Hopefully you'll never get a needle this big. So this is a soil borer. It's called a shallow one. So these go to about 10 feet deep. Okay, and we plug a hole in the ground. I bring the soil back to my lab, and then have to do up to sometimes a week worth of work measuring different parts of the soil, the chemistry and whatever. And I'd have to do this what we call on the ground. That means I'd have to go to different spots all over and study my samples separately. I couldn't get what's called real-time data. So modern technology today is providing us with some incredible tools that some of them are common things that we use in everyday life, but how do we use them in understanding the health of the forest? And when I think of the health of the forest, I think of applications like not just to collect data for research, but also how do I share my knowledge with people that could use it for other applications. This is a standard GoPro. It's a camera, but it could take video. It could also give me Bluetooth feed, so I can have it feed to my phone, and I can put it directly into a cloud, and I can share this. I can crowdsource the information with friends so they can see this live feed. But the problem is, when I'm looking for leaves sometimes or measuring, I'm going to have to look at high heights. So I'm going to try to take this out without taking it totally disassembled. And I'm going to replace the drone. I could use my infrared or night camera GoPro, and I can send it up in the tree before I chop it down without having to climb up. This little guy called a hobo, and we could take pollution measures, we could take temperature. This thing could be on for up to 2 weeks, even longer, and I can constantly monitor temperature, and this can go to my, again, a satellite, and I can monitor that from home. Thinking about satellites, you could even have satellites which are called low Earth, orbit satellites, that we call them LEOs, and they could fly at about 2,000 kilometers up in space and measure information down to the square foot using different types of light reflectance and laser and other technologies. That what you're seeing here is a forest and farm field mix, where it could count the trees, take the mass of the trees, look at actually the photosynthesis of the trees and soil moisture. So guys, think of the technologies that you use today and how they apply to research and also apply to everyday things around you.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everybody you know, because we want to spread the world about the wild things you can find in your own backyard. If your curiosity has not been sated yet, don't forget to check our description for book descriptions. We have a partnership with Houston Public Library, and they can get you even more books on this topic, and also to visit our website at hereinhouston.org. Thank you guys. Bye.